Hi, this is Lisa Somerville for Divinity Designs. Today I'm back to share with you some new techniques using our blending brushes and our mixed media stencils. In this video, I'm going to be using the water spray and half circles mixed media stencils along with our blending brushes. The mixed media stencils are 6x6. And if you're not familiar with our blending brushes, we do offer two different packages of blending brushes, a blending brush cleaner, and a blending brush tool holder. You can use these stencils along with our blending brushes to create beautiful backgrounds for your projects. You can also dry emboss your stencils by following the embossing directions for your die cutting machine. Here's two samples where I dry embossed the water spray mixed media stencil on cardstock. There are many different techniques that you can use along with our mixed media stencils. I'm going to share a few of them here with you today. We also have an additional video on our YouTube channel using our blending brushes and mixed media stencils. You can create a heat embossed background using our mixed media stencils and pigment ink or Versamark ink and embossing powder. You can use our mixed media stencils along with ink to create a tone-on-tone look like you see here. I use the same color cardstock and a similar color ink to create this look. Now I have 4 additional samples to share with you using our mixed media stencils and our blending brushes. On these samples, the technique started out the same. I did the technique on different colors of cardstock using the 2 new stencils. This one is done on craft cardstock using the water spray mixed media stencil. This one is done on black cardstock using the half circles mixed media stencil, the half circles mixed media stencil on craft cardstock, and a tone-on-tone using the half circles mixed media stencil. Now let me show you how easy it is to create those looks using our mixed media stencils and our blending brushes. The craft cardstock panel that I'm using is larger than I actually need for my project. So I can go ahead and tape it down because I'll be die cutting and embossing it later to fit the size of the card that I need. Using our blending brush, I'm going to apply white pigment ink over the stencil onto the craft cardstock. You can do this lightly because if you push down too much, you're going to end up with blobs of white onto your cardstock. Once the white pigment ink has been added over the stencil onto your cardstock, be sure to clean the blending brush with our blending brush tool, mild detergent, and water. Remove the stencil from the cardstock, clean and dry your stencil, and then use a heat gun to dry the pigment ink on the cardstock. Next, place your stencil over the inked background, offsetting your stencil just a little bit. Then we're going to come back in with the blending brushes and ink and add ink over the stencil to create a background similar to this. I'm going to start out in the top corner using the lightest color ink, then working to the darkest color. You can see how nicely those blending brushes blend the ink over the stencil. Once the stencil has been using the blending brushes, remove the stencil from the cardstock. And there you have a stenciled background using ink in the blending brushes that looks like the background's been embossed. And here I've used the panel on a finished card. Now you can go ahead and clean that stencil, but I'm going to make another print using the stencils and some water. Here you can see I have a lighter print using the water spray stencil. And here's that print on a finished card. And here's some prints using the half circle mixed media stencil. To make those prints with the leftover ink on your stencil, you can simply spritz your stencil with water and then place ink side down onto the cardstock, or you can lightly spritz the cardstock and then place the stencil ink side down. I'm going to lightly spritz my cardstock, and then I'll place that stencil ink side down onto the spritzed cardstock. You can keep spritzing and smushing onto your cardstock and then dry in between layers using your heat gun. Again, here's that same technique done on black cardstock. And then tone on tone. Now here's that panel I showed you earlier where I dry embossed the water spray mixed media stencil onto cardstock. Place the stencil back over the embossed area of the cardstock, and now I'm going to use ink in the blending brushes to apply ink over the embossed areas of the mixed media stencil. Again, I'm going to be working from light to dark. And then you can remove the stencil from the embossed cardstock. And here you can see the ink added with the blending brush over the embossed area of the stencil. Again, be sure to clean your blending brush with a blending brush cleaner. And then either clean your stencil with water and mild detergent, or spritz the cardstock or stencil with water to create a second print that you can use on your cards. Now on this card, I only wanted a circle area to be stenciled. So to easily do this, I used our circle dies and cut a circle into my cardstock panel. And then I cut the white cardstock the same size. I'm going to adhere those two pieces of cardstock together so that they don't move. Then adhere the stencil over the cardstock. Again, I'm going to use removable tape so that the stencil doesn't shift. And then I'm going to use my blending brushes and ink and apply ink over the stencil. Remove the stencil from the cardstock. Remove your two cardstock panels. Clean your stencil in your blending brush. And now you have a nice circle stenciled onto your cardstock that you can use on your project. Now I'd like to share with you a closer look at the projects that I created using the products available this month along with additional Divinity Designs products. Here's the stencil technique I shared with you in the video. And here's the second print, the stenciled circle that I just shared with you. A square card using the basket weave square background die along with additional Divinity Designs products found in the April 2021 Blessings Box subscription kit along with our Floral Favorites paper pack. For more inspiration, visit our samples gallery, like us on Facebook, or follow us on Pinterest and Instagram.